It was a rainy Tuesday afternoon, and I had just stepped out of the small coffee shop near my office, juggling an umbrella, my phone, and a steaming cup of latte. The rain was relentless, turning the city streets into a symphony of pattering drops and splashing puddles. In my rush, I barely noticed the bookstore across the street, its warm lights glowing invitingly against the gray backdrop of the storm. My latte slipped from my hands and spilled everywhere when I stumbled over an uneven sidewalk. Embarrassed and frustrated, I ducked into the bookstore to escape the chaos outside and clean myself up. Little did I know, this unplanned detour would change my life forever. The scent of old pages and freshly brewed coffee inside the bookstore instantly soothed my frazzled nerves. I wandered through the aisles, letting my fingers graze the spines of countless novels. That's when I saw him. He stood in the corner of the store, flipping through the pages of a thick hardcover book. He was tall, with dark, tousled hair and an easy smile that lit up his face. His jacket was slightly damp from the rain, but he didn't seem to mind. Something about him drew me in, his calm demeanor, his genuine interest in the book he held, or maybe it was the way he seemed completely at ease amidst the storm outside. Trying not to stare, I pretended to browse the shelf near him. My heart raced when he glanced up and caught my eye. His smile widened, and he said, "Looks like the weather forced us both to find shelter here." I laughed nervously. "Yeah, I guess you could say the rain has a way of steering us to unexpected places." "It's not a bad place to end up," he said, holding up his book. "I always feel like bookstores are a little slice of magic." "I agree," I replied, feeling more at ease. "It's funny, though. I pass by this bookstore every day, and I've never come inside." He nodded. "Sometimes it takes a rainy day to remind us to slow down and notice the little things." We talked for what felt like hours, sharing our favorite books, stories, and even our dreams. His name was Ethan, and he worked as an architect in the city. We bonded over our mutual love for classic literature and our shared belief that stories have the power to bring people together. As the rain subsided, he looked at me and said, "I'm glad the rain brought you here today. Maybe we can continue this conversation over dinner sometime." Blushing, I nodded. "I'd like that." Our first date was as magical as our meeting. Ethan chose a cozy little bistro tucked away in a quiet corner of the city. The ambience was perfect, soft lighting, the aroma of delicious food, and the faint hum of live jazz in the background. We talked endlessly, as if we had known each other for years. I learned that he had a passion for designing spaces that brought people together, and he admired my work as a writer, finding beauty in the way words could create worlds. Over time, our bond deepened. We explored the city together, finding hidden gems in parks, cafes, and art galleries. Every weekend, we'd return to the bookstore where we first met, browsing the shelves and discovering new stories to share with each other. It became our haven, a place where we could escape from the world and simply be with each other. One day, as we wandered through the bookstore, Ethan stopped in front of a display of travel books. He picked one up and turned to me with a twinkle in his eye. "What do you think about taking a trip together?" "A trip?" I asked, surprised but intrigued. "Yes," he said. "Let's create our own story. Somewhere new, somewhere neither of us has been. What do you say?" And just like that, we found ourselves planning a journey to Italy. The trip was everything we dreamed of and more. From wandering the romantic streets of Venice to standing in awe of the Colosseum in Rome, every moment felt like a scene from a storybook. On our last evening in Florence, as the sun set over the Arno River, Ethan pulled me close and said, "I've never been happier than I am right now, with you." Tears filled my eyes as I realized how much this man meant to me. The rainstorm that had brought us together seemed like a distant memory, yet it was the beginning of everything. Years later, we stood in that same bookstore, now holding hands as we browsed the aisles. So much had changed since that fateful rainy day, yet the magic of the place remained. Ethan squeezed my hand and whispered, "Thank you for walking into my life that day." I smiled, leaning into him. "Thank you for being my unexpected place." The rain pattered softly against the windows, a gentle reminder of the day our story began. And as we walked out of the bookstore together, I knew that no matter what storms came our way, we would always find shelter in each other.